put.
I think it was perfect because I was able to like tilt it and tip it. Sometimes it's too thick where you can't even tilt it and sip. You have to have a straw.
Yeah, I didn't want it to be too thick. I threw some coconut water. I threw some shit in there.
Blueberries.
Yeah, strawberries, dragon fruit.
Okay.
Yeah, all that good stuff.
Very hydrating smoothie.
Yeah, I like it. I'm glad you drank it too. I was gonna ask.
Yeah. I was thinking about you this morning when I was grabbing my water. Then I seen it. I was like, yeah, let me just go and grab a cup, grab some of this, because I know he's gonna say some shit. And it was pretty good.
That's good, baby.
What do you want to eat for dinner? That ravioli?
The ravioli.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really all we have. I was gonna make some lentils too.
Okay. So should I grab some pasta sauce since I'm going inside now?
We have plenty of tomatoes, baby.
Yeah, you're right.
Plenty.
And we have tomato paste.
I think so.
No, I'm pretty sure we do.
You're sure?
I'm pretty sure. I seen it yesterday. Either tomato paste or crushed tomatoes. Either way, it'll work.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. You know where the
Where what? The breakfast?
Yeah. Do you know?
I think so. On that same thing where they have the lunch, but it's on the other side, right?
Something like that.
I'll just look. If I can't find it, I'll call you. Or I'll ask somebody there.
All right.
Alright, baby, love you.
It's right by the babe. You know where we got those? We thought they were chicken sandwiches.
Yeah, the pork sandwich.
Babe, literally right on the other side of that display. By the
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
by the dessert. You'll see it.
Okay. Alright, baby.
Okay.
If I'm not sure what to get, I'll just call you.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Alright, babe. And maybe we could have the lentils, and then I can make some rice, and then we can also have the ravioli. Because I'm kind of feeling like I want to eat the lentil soup again. It was too good.
Yeah, it was. The lentil soup you said?
Yeah, remember you made that lentil soup?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was fucking that one.
You want me to make it again tonight?
Yeah. Even just having it on like a cold day by itself, I would eat it.
Yeah, babe. That's we can add that to your your recipe book. What happened to that recipe book, man?
Babe, I still got that recipe book, babe.
You put like
It has about 5 recipes. That's it.
almost 1 year since you have it. You got 5 recipes.
Yeah. I need to get on it. I need to bring it and put it on my desk so then I can just like write on it on my desk, you know?
All right. All right. attractions, got it.
Yes.
Alright. Sounds good, man. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, I'm 2 minutes away from Hy-Vee right now, so I'll be home in
Alright.
like 15 minutes.
Bet that. I'll see you soon.
Alright,
Love you, bye. Oh, man, let's see what's going on with this stream. With my stream. Yeah. Fuck. See how this is going. Yeah. Yo. See how this is going. Yo. Echo. Well, that's not gonna work. Fuck. That ain't gonna work like that. Shit. Yo. What's going on? How do we sound? Good. I think it's good. There's a small echo. I think it should be fine. I think it should be fine. Alright. What the fuck we doing, y'all? What are we doing? I'm trying to get eligible for YouTube. Trying to get eligible. Start getting paid, you know what I'm saying? Make some money off this shit. It's about time. I haven't watched mine in a while.
Imagine bringing your side project to life just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform.
If you're serious, not just curious about like having a large, massive amount of prosperous increase, but you don't like all the negativity associated with it, this video is going to be for you because I'm going to show you what I believe are the missing pieces to prosperity and why almost everything you've ever learned about prosperity is wrong. And I know, I already get the comments. Some of you are going to comment on this video. Congratulations. Oh, he's just one of those prosperity gospel preachers. And if someone were to ask me if I'm a prosperity gospel preacher, my answer would be, I don't know, what's a prosperity gospel preacher? If they told me, then I'd know how to answer that question. But I like the word prosperity. You know why? Because God likes it. He uses it a lot. But this is not so much a Bible study as it is an understanding of why people struggle. And I know that I've had conversations with people who are experiencing struggle in their life, and they make the mistake of thinking that because their experience of struggle is real, they buy into the idea that the struggle itself is real. But the reality is the struggle is not real just because you're struggling with it. Let me say that one more time. The struggle is not real just because you're struggling. That doesn't mean the struggle is real. That just means your experience of struggle is real. And so I was thinking, why do people like struggle so much? Or I should say, why do some people struggle so much when other people seem like they don't struggle at all? Some people make life look so effortful, and others make it look so effortless. Like, what's the difference? And I believe that I think the struggle comes if what I believe about the very first success principle in the Bible is true, which is be, do, have. I believe that the struggle exists because of what we are either refusing to be or what we've not yet learned to be or what we're resisting becoming. And the thing that I believe that we've not become enough of yet is we've not become enough like God.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more someone becomes like,
Notice how he says like God. Like. Not to become God, to be like God. It's the problem nowadays. Is too many people try to play God instead of being like Him. To be like someone, to have the same similarities, the same traits, habits, to be like Him. Hold on. What is it?
Breakfast pizza or pancakes?
Pizza.
You want the breakfast pizza?
Yeah, it should be $10, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll feed everybody. Yeah, that'll feed everybody.
Okay.
It's good. You like it or what? What do you want?
I kind of wanted
That sandwich.
maybe I'll get this calzone.
Okay.
Italian sausage calzone. What do you think?
It sound good, man. Sound good.
Okay.
All right.
Do you want any juice?
No,
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
All right. See you. Oh, let's try to be like
God, the less room there is in their lives for lies, loss, and lack. Because one of the things that God gives us when we receive Christ and we become His children and we become students of His word, and He gives us, if we just understand His principles, even if we're not children of God, when we understand God's principles, one of the things that God gives us is He gives us perspective. And He gives us a level of awareness to understand that life is the way it is. It's not necessarily the way I'm perceiving it. And so the more in tune we become with truth, the less room we have in our life for lies. And the more lies, loss, and lack we have in our life, the less we are being like God. Think about it. The more you become like God, the more you are in alignment with truth. That's what it means to be more like God. God cannot lie. So the more I become in line with truth, the more I'm becoming like God. So one of my primary objectives in life is to become a student a diligent student of truth. What truth? All truth. I have to become a student of truth, because if I don't become a student of truth, I will not readily recognize a lie when it rears its ugly head. I will buy a lie as truth when I don't understand truth. That's why the enemy does now and always has since the beginning of time. That's one of the reasons why he changes the meaning of words.
A lot of people lie because they fear. They fear the truth. That's why people lie.
Because words are not just a communication tool. Words are the window through which we see the world. Isn't it fascinating that Jesus said, let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth? What does that mean? Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth. What does that mean? Don't let words that deteriorate proceed out of your mouth. Don't let words that tear down proceed out of your mouth. So when I understand truth, I understand that one of the primary purposes of communication between humans is to build up and not tear down. How do I know that? Well, because the scripture says, let your words be with grace, seasoned with salt, that it may minister grace unto the hearer. The purpose of our words is to edify and build up. The words that we speak are to be like gifts that we give. Let me ask you a question. Are the words that you speak gifts that you give? Well, not.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I've.
These are good questions, man. Gets you thinking for real.
They're not gifts that you give if you're calling someone a name.
All right.
They're not gifts that you give if you're cussing somebody out. They're not gifts that you give if you're lying to someone. They're not gifts that you give if you're lying about someone. They're not gifts that you give if you're gossiping about someone. Here's what I figured out. If someone will talk to me about someone, they will talk about me to someone.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I think I need some help.
And so I've got to understand that my responsibility, if I want to prosper, is I've got to get in alignment with truth, and I got to make sure that the words that I speak are truth, the words that I listen to are truth, and the words that I act on are words of truth. Because if I don't, my life is going to be invaded by lies.
It's gonna be,
you know what's really sad? You know one of the reasons people struggle?
That's all, everything around
because they believe that lies are truth. And if you believe that a lie is truth, then you are not like God. And there are a lot of lies that people believe that they think are inconspicuous, harmless lies. They're not that significant. And they buy into them for those lies to only come in and wreak havoc in their lives. So if we can learn in every area of our lives to replace lies with truth, then we can become more like God. And I believe that the first place that we have to do that is in the area of our identity. The biggest lies that people believe that cost them the most are lies about who they are. More accurately stated, lies about who they aren't. I'm for decades, even after I became a believer, reading the Bible, I'm studying the Bible. For decades, I did not understand Moses' question to God when God was speaking to him out of the burning bush. And the thing I understood less than Moses' question was God's answer. Who shall I say has sent me? I would read that and I would ask myself, what kind of question is that? I wouldn't have asked God that. I already know I wouldn't have asked God that. If God would have told me to march into the king's office, to the most mighty man on earth's office, and tell him, I said, let my people go, I wouldn't have said, who shall I say has sent me? I wouldn't have said that. You know what I said, Carrie? What can I tell him you said you gonna do if he says no? That's what I'd have said. Now to me, that question makes perfect sense, right? Moses didn't say that. Who shall I say has sent me? But you
what
see,
happens if he
Moses
says no?
understood something that I didn't understand. And that was this, that authority is always an identity issue. Who sent you? It's like the question in the military. When does a private have more authority than a major? When he's on orders from a general. That's why when the apostles were whipped and beaten and commanded not to speak anymore in the name of Christ, they said, is it right for us to obey man rather than God? So the more we believe lies, the less in tune we are with the truth. And so if we believe lies about our identity, then we're walking around with what I call a lie-identity. What's a lie-identity? All the things, all the people in your life told you are not. All the things, all the experiences in your life told you are not. And so most people are more in tune with who they aren't than they are in tune with who they are. What are we doing here?
Backwards.
Wrap your mind around that. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not big enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not short enough. I'm not heavy enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not educated enough. I'm not rich enough. And so many people are so intimately familiar with what they aren't, they have no awareness whatsoever of what they are. I used to be fascinated by people like Frederick Douglass who were born into slavery and died free. But they didn't just die free, they died free having freed hundreds and thousands of others. How's that possible? Because Frederick Douglass was more aware of who he was based on whose he was than he was who he wasn't based on people who told him his whole life that he wasn't. We take something like racism. Well, these people are struggling because of racism. Well, maybe racism has contributed to their struggle, but they're not struggling because of racism. They're struggling to the degree that they bought into racism and the idea that they're struggling because of racism. Well, I'm going to get some kickback from that. Because it's easier for me to look outside of me and say the real problem is out there. But what if the real problem is in here, and the real problem that's in here is not this, but the real problem that's in here is my lack of awareness of who I am based on who I am? What if I'm so familiar with this that I'm totally unfamiliar with this?
No offense, but if you're paying more than $50 per month on home insurance, you're getting ripped off. Everyone knows you can buy home insurance online. But did you know there's an Amazon for home insurance? That's right. It's an online marketplace that cuts out the middleman and gives you wholesale prices. So you could save $3,000 per year for the same home insurance you currently have. Guys, everyone's ditching their home insurance and buying from a marketplace instead. The reason you're likely overpaying for home insurance, it's because 80% of what you pay goes to commissions for the insurance agent. 80%? But if you buy from a marketplace instead, you can cut out the middleman. Put that 80% back into your pocket. Now, this website has home insurance for as low as $1.41 per day using the same big companies you already know. And here's what else you get if you buy from an online marketplace. No more spam calls at all hours of the day. No more hidden fees and no more rising premiums. You could save up to $3,000 per year with this website, and it only takes 2 minutes to do. It's got an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, and thousands of 5-star reviews on Trustpilot, so you know it's legit. I put a link to the website down below. So whatever button you see on this video, just go ahead and click that, and it's going to take you to the website. Then you're going to answer a couple of simple questions like the type of home you have, where you live, and that's it. So click the link, and you can save up to $3,000. And make sure to click the button at the end to get your quote.
What if you can create your own website by saying, this is what I want? With Wix, you can. First up, let's talk about AI color themes. You can get any combos you want, bold and bright, minimalist and sleek, or something you didn't even think of. Just describe the vibe you want, or even use the colors of your logo, and let AI do its thing. Beautiful. Next up is the AI section creator. This is great for those website essentials, like a contact section or a place to subscribe. Now, I'm running a sale.
They done got me with the ads and shit. I don't know where
You're so familiar with the fact that you don't have a degree that you're totally unfamiliar with the fact that you're made in the image of a deity. And if you're made in the image of a deity, degree or no degree, you are somebody. Like, there are people who don't believe in God who hate me. And there are people who believe in God who hate me. And guess what? I don't have time to care because I know who I am based on whose I am. I'm not buying any lies. When I was a kid, so I walk funny, okay? It depends on your definition of funny. Okay? So I walk funny, which means I walk different than other people. I walk with a limp. I have a brace on my leg, and I've walked with a limp my whole life. So walking with a limp is just walking to me. It's walking funny to other people. It's walking with a limp to other people. It's just walking to me, right? And when I was a kid, other people made fun of me. And because I was surrounded by people, and I wasn't like the people I was surrounded by, I thought that my lack of similarity to them made me less than. And some of them went out of their way to make sure I knew I was less than. They helped me buy into the lie that I was less than. But when I met the Savior, and he loved me who I was, how I was, where I was, when I was, and the scripture tells me that I'm accepted in the beloved. And I realized that I'm made in the image of God. And I realized that God, and some of y'all ain't gonna like this either, you're gonna disagree with it, but that's okay. I'll give you some room to be wrong and some time to grow. God in his sovereign wisdom ordained. He didn't allow. In order for God to allow something, he has to learn something that he didn't know. Think about that. In order for God to allow something, he has to ordain something. He has to learn something that he didn't know. But God knows the end from the beginning. So God in his sovereign wisdom ordained that the enemy bring me a physical affliction that would cause me, and he knew that would contribute to me feeling less than for a very long period, what felt like a long period in my life. Now it feels like almost no time in my life. So that when he introduced me to who I am based on whose I am, I would finally realize that what limitations I have are absolutely irrelevant because of whose image I'm made in. And so, once I realized the truth about who I am, I could start being me. And I didn't have to feel bad about being a black man in a white world. I didn't have to feel bad about my disability. So funny, that's such a funny word. Not funny, yeah, it's such a funny word. I'm just gonna say it like that. I was on Clubhouse one time. I said, I don't believe I have a disability. I just believe I have a different ability. There were people who have disabilities who didn't like that I said it. You can't say that because you can't minimize my just because. Well, okay, you believe you have a disability. You can believe anything you want to about you. I don't have a disability. I have different abilities. I realize that it's impossible for me to have a weakness in my leg that's not compensated for by a strength somewhere else. And if I've got a weakness in my leg, by the way, your left eye ain't the same strength or the same size as your right eye. Yeah. Your left arm ain't the same size or the same strength as your right arm. Yeah. Legs too. Just because mine's more exaggerated. I ain't disability, child, please. Ain't nobody got time for that. Once I realized that I was made for a purpose that no other human being who's ever existed can fulfill. Oh, you know what I realized? Oh, nothing's missing. Let's go. I'm all right. Oh man, I'm sorry you had polio. Well, it's how it makes one of us. You say, what are you saying? I'm saying God didn't say, well, I declare. I didn't know he was going to have polio. What are we going to do? What? Do you understand that God Or some of y'all gonna be, oh, I'm so mad at God, I can't believe you did that. That's right, because you don't know the end from the beginning. And you're unwilling to accept the assignment that he made you for, and you've been resisting it your whole life. But I'm telling you, when you understand the truth about your identity, God didn't need David to be the oldest in order for him to be the king. He didn't need Joseph in his protected religious environment in order for him to be a holy, righteous, upright man in someone else's house, in a prison, and for him to be the prime minister of the greatest nation on earth. And God doesn't need you to have perfect circumstances for him to perfectly use you for the assignment for which you were perfectly created up in here.
You and I were both lied to since childhood. We were told.
You have to understand the truth about your identity. Until you understand the truth and accept the truth about your identity with all of its limitations, the reason you have those limitations is so you don't waste time there. What if that's the case? What if the reason, the limitations you have, are so that you don't waste time in the arena where those limitations would give you more ability to waste more time? What if your dyslexia is a gift from God so that you don't spend too much time in school? I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying what if? See, we don't understand the truth about our identity, and we spend our whole life cursing our curses, lamenting our lamentations, and being burdened by our burdens instead of blessing our burdens, instead of leveraging our limitations. We go through life with all this internal resistance, and what we resist persists. And the reason we resist it is because we believe the lies. But we need to replace the lies that we believe with truth. That's why learning something new every day is so important. Because every time you learn something new, you increase your competence or you increase your perception. And an increased perception will always, well, not always, that's not true, gives you the ability to have an improved perspective. Are y'all tracking? Yes. So if I'm going through life believing lies about my identity, I'm not being like God. Therefore, I cannot prosper. I cannot. Why? Because I'm literally fighting an unnecessary uphill battle that doesn't even need to be won. All I have to do is yield to the truth. So releasing. So I have an older brother, my brother Jeff, very athletic. He could play baseball, he could play basketball, he could play, everything he did, he could skate, he could ice skate, everything he did. It seemed like everything he did, he could just do it easily on his first try, right? My brother, I couldn't do that because I couldn't run. My brother Mike did great in school all the way through. I did great in school all the way through too, all the way through the third grade. And it went downhill from there. Mike's right under me. And Mike and I graduated from the same school in the same year because I liked the 10th grade so much I took it twice. Wow. If you want to believe that's the reason. Wow. Right? And when we graduated, I graduated salutatorian in my class, second in my class. It was a class of 2. My little brother Mike, he was the valedictorian. He was the top half of the class, I was the other half. Yeah. So if I went through life comparing myself to Jeff and comparing myself to Mike, I would always be less than. Why? Because if you go through life comparing yourself to anyone, you will always be less than, which means you're not being like God. Because you're attempting to, what did Paul say? He said, they that compare themselves among themselves, measuring themselves by themselves, are what? Not wise. That's not a good idea. What if instead of getting my identity, it's not a good idea. What if instead of getting wise? That they that compare themselves among themselves, measuring themselves by themselves, are what? Not wise. That's not a good idea. What if instead of getting my identity from the people around me, what if instead of getting my identity from the miseducational system that I went to, What if instead of getting my identity, even from my parents, or getting my identity from my siblings, or getting my identity from classmates, or getting my identity from my boss, or my coworkers, or my whatever, what if I got my identity from the ultimate identity? Which when Moses said to God, who shall I say has sent me? Tell him, I am that I am has sent thee. I think isn't the second commandment, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain? Is that the second or third? Does anybody remember? I think it's the second. I'm not sure, but I think it's the second. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. That's fascinating. Now, I used to think that meant just saying the name of God in an empty way.
Yeah.
But I really believe that saying saying the name of God in an empty way might be taking the name of God in vain. But when you take God's name, I am that I am what I am. The God that put the moon and the sun in the heavens, I am that I am. The God that decked the heavens with the stars, I'm that I am. The God that smoothed out a chaotic earth, I'm that I am. The God that scooped out a place with his hand, put the water in it, tied it down with a rope of sand, and called it oceans, I am that I am. The God that put a garment of green over the valleys and the mountains and the hills, I am that I am. The God that buttoned it up with lilies and garlands and wove with laughing daffodils, I am that I am. I am the I am that made him. I am that I am that made Pharaoh. I am that I am that raised him up. I am that I am that will knock him down. I am that I am. And what if taking the name of God in vain means God's name is I am? What if it means adding the word not after you say God's name? I am not smart. But you're made in the image of I am.
Using the Lord's name in vain is exactly how you said it. It's nothing to do with goddamn or would you say, any type of cursing or anything. It's speaking negatively about yourself. Because, as you're capable of doing anything. So when you tell yourself, I am not, you're downplaying God, you're downplaying yourself. You're capable of anything, so why convince yourself you can't?
And so you're attaching I am, the power of eternity, to a limitation. What if that's taking God's name in vain?
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
I am so stupid. You sure?
Hold on.